2024. I'm sure when the year started and Max Verstappen was running away with the race wins just like they were in 2023, it looked like Red Bull had picked up where they'd left off and were going to dominate again this season. But they didn't, and I'm sure you never expected the final constructor standings to look like this. Red Bull racing third. It was a surprise. It was a shock. Was their dominance finally over? It looked like it. The winter was long. It was another winter of Mercedes singing about how they'd finally understood these regulations and unlocked performance and got the key to success. But given how 2024 ended, we were all fairly confident that it was McLaren who was going to run away with this season, given their performance and given how they truly understood these regulations, which reflected in their car. 12 races in, we're now exactly halfway through the season, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about. This is a mid season tier list. This is Formula Party. Please like, subscribe, and let's talk about how these teams are performing so far this season. We'll go in reverse championship order for 2024, and that brings us to start with Stake F1 Kick Sauber team. I think that's right, but I don't really care because it's going to be Audi next year, or Audi Sauber, or whatever. But like I said, I don't care, and I can't remember as well. If we talk about performance compared to last year, it's chalk and cheese. They've already amassed over 10 times the points they finished on last year. And if we look at last year, they were consistently dropping 50-second pit stops, and the whole pit crew situation was a shambles. Compared to this year, much better. They're putting in reasonable pit stops, even good pit stops, and this is really helping in their race runs. The car. The car's the main thing, to be honest. Last year it was a green boat, and even at the start of this season, to me it looked like the green boat, but it's slowly and steadily been improving. It's emerging as a good midfield car, competitive, and the drivers have been doing a good job. Hulkenberg's always been in the mix, there or thereabouts, picking up points here and there, being really consistent, and Bortoletto's also been putting in a shift. He's only just got his first points in F1, but he's looking good so far for his rookie year. Considering all those factors, and the fact that Hulkenberg got a podium at the last race, I have to put them in the A tier. Nothing else seems right. Onto Williams. This is a team transformed under the leadership of James Vowles, or JV as the cool kids call him. They finally got rid of Logan Sargent, and they've got a decent driver pairing, a solid driver pairing in Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. They've even more than tripled their points tally from the end of last year. But something doesn't quite sit right with this team this year. I don't know what it is, but between the team and the car and the drivers, I feel like this team's riddled with inconsistency. They look good on a Friday, disappear on a Saturday, and by the time Sunday comes around, everything's gone wrong. They have still put in some really good performances, and I'll give them a B for that, but I really expected them to be at an A and be consistently in the front of the midfield. Now, about Racing Bulls. This is a tricky one because this team's performing really well. The car is the most predictable car from all of the midfield teams, I guess, and this team's had a lot of change at the start of the season when Sonoda was taken and Lawson was given to them, and now when their team principal's been taken and they've got a new one. There's a lot going on at this VCOP team, but they've been consistent, and that's all you can ask of them. They've been consistent, they've been there. Hadjo's been putting in some really good performances in quali and following these up on race days, and even Lawson's chipping in with points here and there. I think because consistent is the word that comes to mind. I have to give them an A. They've already nearly matched their 2024 points total. In half the time, nonetheless, I have no doubt that they'll amass and surpass their 2024 points total. So yeah, it's got to be an A. And I'm also going to sneak them in ahead of the Saubers here because both of their drivers have been more consistent. Let me know in the comments whether you agree. But back to the word consistent. When you hear that, one team you definitely don't think of is Haas. And I don't really know what's happened with this team this season, but compared to 2024, they've already amassed half the points in half the season. So I guess they're kind of on track to perform just as well as last season. What you want to see is progression. And I don't really know if you see that with Haas. You do see consistency in their car in terms of the fact that when the season starts, their car looks a mess. And they slowly sort it out, pick it up, and get it back together. But Like I said, yeah, they've just been a bit of a hit and miss this season. It's more of a guessing game how they're going to perform. And for that reason, I have to give them a C. Over to Alpine now, and I'm not even going to make you for it. I'm sticking them straight in that L season category. I was going to call this the F category, but then I thought about who's going to go in there. And only one team I could really think of would go in there. And they're not good enough for an F. They're good enough for an L season, because that's exactly what this is. That team is such a shambles. It's a joke. The management's a joke. The car can perform, to be fair, but they've only got one driver. Well, they've got three, but that's because it's a circus. They've got one driver that's there and gets as much as he can out of the car, but he also has his limitations and he's inconsistent. That second Alpine car, who's going to be driving in it by the time we get to Spa? We don't really know. And the only person who does know is the ringmaster of this circus, Flavio Briatore. And let me tell you, he should be the clown, because he has no idea what he's doing. Okay, well, he does, but he's just so erratic. His decision making's strange, and it doesn't give you any comfort in the team. They've lost their CEO as well, and that's why I'm just going to say it's an L season for them. They're not getting anything else, and they're never going to get anything else. They might perform a little better next year with that Mercedes engine, but until they sort their management out and get all these clowns out of the team, it's always going to be an L season for Alpine in my book. Onto Aston Martin now, and I can't lie, this also probably goes straight into a C. Just like Haas, you don't really know what's going on there. They've got Aero Jesus in, but he's not looking at the 2025 car. He's looking at the 2026 regulations. And that's probably what they should do with him. They show up here and there in the points, and they're not doing as well as last season, even to be quite frank. So I've got to stick them in a C. They're has to. But they're probably just a bit better because they've got the better car. Onto the front of the pack, the leaders. It's just Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren left. And we'll start with Mercedes, considering they finished fourth last year. I actually really had to think hard about this one. They've got a good car, they've got a solid car, they've got a solid driver pairing. Rookie Antonelli is doing really well, and George Russell is outperforming that car. But like, I still don't quite know. But going by Mercedes standards, given they're third in the championship, I definitely can't give them an A. I think it'll have to be a B tier season for them. They're definitely better than Ferrari for what it's worth. So that one's coming up soon. It's a B for Mercedes. Red Bull. Now, this was a tricky one, especially given what's unfolded after the Silverstone Grand Prix. Getting rid of your only ever Formula One team principal, mid season nonetheless, is a big call, and it better pay off. They better hope it pays off. Red Bull have had a good season, I think. They've been there when it matters, and they've picked up a couple of wins when they can, which is all they can do, really, because in this era of someone else dominating, you've just got to take your chances when you get them, just like in 2023. And for that reason, Red Bull, good on you. And you've got to give them an A. But everything I just said there is looking at Red Bull as a one driver team. And as you know, every team has two cars. And looking at that second car, the first two races when Liam Lawson was struggling and got binned, and Yuki Tsunoda got promoted from the second race on. That second car has shown a little improvement, but it's not great. And to have your second driver so far off your first driver, and looking at how much of a one man car that is, it's got to be a B. As a team, it's got to be a B. That's where they'll go. And for me, purely based on driver pairing and performance, it's going to have to be behind the Williams as well. I really don't want to do this Ferrari one. Everything was looking rosy after the end of the 2024 season, when they were catching, and some even thought they might catch McLaren for the constructors' number one position. They didn't. All they had to do was develop and build on that car. So what did they go and do? Yeah, you're right. They went and changed 95% of that fucking car. They completely changed it, and they started this season nowhere. We had a brief glimpse of hope in China when Lewis took pole and won the sprint, but ever since then, it's just been absolute Ferrari masterclass. Ferrari masterclass in the sense of Ferrari doing what Ferrari do. You know, they give you hope, then it's over. They give you hope, and it's over again. I'm gonna have to give them a C because they really should have been competing this year. And based on where they should be, even though they're just about clinging on to second in the championship, that's more to do with Red Bull and Mercedes not performing where they should. It's got to be a C. It's not good from Ferrari, and it pains me to say that. There isn't much to say about the McLaren that isn't just common sense, I guess. Ever since that fateful upgrade in Austria in 2023, the tide turned. Everything changed, and they're all of a sudden the top dogs. And it doesn't look like anyone's going to displace them anytime soon. They've really understood this ground effect era, and they know what they're doing. They're going to run away with the Constructors' Championship, and hopefully Oscar is going to win the drivers. But McLaren's an easy S tier. I don't think anyone's debating that. I might be partial to a hot take, and some of you might disagree with where I've placed Alpine in this tier list. But let me know in the comments what you think and what your order would have been for how teams are performing so far this season and how it's going to look come the end. We've still got a few more empty weekends before we're in Spa. But for now, this has been Formula Party, and I'll see you on the next one.